Want some candy?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
I hear you looking for candy, man, bitch.
Give me some sugar, baby. Like scary movies.
Uh-huh. Want some candy?
When the doctors are away, the inmate will play. That's right, everybody. Screamin E has gone rogue. So stay tuned for this next minisode of Monster Candy Podcast. All right. That's right, everybody. Oobzilla has been getting the shit end of the stick at work. Dominic is still recovering. And Shotzi Blackheart, well, she's in the WWE. So her availability has been spotty at best. So I took it upon myself to give you guys a little something and do something a little different. And that is to do a creature feature spotlight on some classic monster movies and some deep cuts that I don't think get enough love, that some people may not know or may not have seen, and tell you guys to check it out. So yeah, that's what we're going to do this time. So it's not going to be a long episode, but hopefully it'll be an interesting one. But before we get into that, I think it's time for
Horror News.
bloop, 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 bloop. That's right, Shotzi. It's time for horror news. And have I got some horror news for yins? So, NECA is coming out with another Thing figure, and this time it's the one from the cover, which I guess is supposed to be Bennings, but I mean it could really be any of them, and I think this is by far the coolest one. It has the light coming out of its face and everything. I just think that's probably the quintessential Thing figure to have from NECA. So there's that. But this one is the one I'm most excited about. Now, back in May, NECA put up a little teaser post of having glow-in-the-dark Universal Monsters. So they've done 2 versions of the Universal Monsters line, a colored one and then a black and white one. This one is fucking dope. Now, in the post, they also had Frankenstein laying in the monsterizer, which I hope they also put out. I think they need to put out more accessories for these figures, especially the classic monster ones. King Kong has some little accessories, planes and sticks and shit, but dude, he needs an Empire State Building, or at least the top. He needs something, and I would love it if they did some accessories for the glow-in-the-dark Universal Monster line. So that'll be cool. Man, I held off on getting the black and white version because the colored version is good enough for me, but dude, the fucking glow-in-the-dark is the shit. Anything glow-in-the-dark rules. So as usual, NECA making monster kids' dreams come true. Now, you heard me talk about this a little bit on the last episode. The full trailer for Prey, or The Prey, has come out, and it's up on Bloody Disgusting if you want to go check it out. Now, don't get me wrong. It looks well done, and I do like the angle they're taking, which I think anything after, man, even the second one kind of sucks. Because let's be honest, Daniel Glover is not an action hero, and he was old in Lethal Weapon. Well, I don't know, what was he supposed to be in his 40s in Lethal Weapon, which I guess back in the 80s was like 60. But yeah, he was the wrong actor for that role.
he was way too old at that point to be playing some, you know, action hero fighting fucking aliens. But I guess maybe that was part of the angle they took. Anyway, the angle they're taking on this one is, you know, it's 300 years in the past, and I guess the alien is, or the predator is going to go up and fight, you know, go up against the Comanches, which is pretty awesome because Comanches were fucking brutal, expert hunters and just savages when it came to war. So that part's cool. But again, I don't think they need to make another Predator movie. I think it's just like Oobzilla was saying in the last one, they kind of humanize the Predator too much now. And much like they do with a lot of things nowadays, they turn the story into some morality lesson at the end, which I guess a lot of stories do, but I don't know. When I'm seeing a monster movie like The Predator, like I don't need any lessons in morality. But we'll see. I don't know. I'll give it a chance. I did not know it was going to be a Hulu original. So that has me a little worried, because if it's anything like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Netflix, then but I don't know. We'll see. I'll give it a chance, and I'm sure we'll discuss it after it comes out. I guess it comes out August 5th, maybe. So that brings me to this. So the trailer for the Monsters, or teaser trailer, came up. Man, look, people love Rob Zombie. Sure, I get it. I don't personally, you know, I was never really a fan of his music. I mean, he seems like a cool dude, and he has a lot of cool ideas, and, you know, stoked on him doing whatever he wants to do. But the Monsters, just, man, I do not think that needed a reboot or a movie. I mean, it looks okay, but again, having Sherry Moon, she's always going to be Baby. So any role you put her in, that's who she is. You know, and it kind of sucks for her, but it is what it is. And, you know, again, with this whole thing, I just don't think it needed to be done. I'm sure I'll check it out. He has good ideas. Visually, he's great. But he doesn't necessarily do anything new, which I'm all for. You know, I can get behind. Pays a lot of tribute and just, you know, throwback to all the classic stuff, which is cool. And I could totally dig that, but I don't know, man. Maybe I'll be surprised. Who knows? I just don't think this needed to be done. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll fucking see. I just hope. As long as it doesn't suck, I guess it'll be cool. But I don't know. Rob Zombie's track record isn't too great. Although people are going to love it regardless, I'm sure. Either because they're just uber fans of Rob Zombie, or it's more horror content, which is fine. You know, who the fuck am I to say what's cool and what's not? But I don't know. I guess we'll fucking see about that shit. So I think that's pretty much it, and all I have for
Horror news.
Thank you, Shotzi, as always. All right. So tonight on Screamin E's Creature Feature Spotlight, I want to talk a little bit about the 1957 sci-fi monster flick, The Monster That Challenged the World, directed by Arnold Lavin. Now, this did not make my top 5 50s films when we did our list, but this is definitely within my top 10. I mean, this might even be 6 or 7. This is definitely one of the better monster movies from back in the 50s. Let me give you read you the synopsis. I won't read you the IMDb one because that one's lame. I'll read you the one from the DVD. So, creeping dread, crawling terror, oozing fear.
The local beaches go from fun-filled swim fest to horrifying slugfest when a horde of gargantuan vampire snails ooze their way into the water supply and threaten to suck the life out of mankind. Packed with nerve-jangly suspense and excitement, this slimy sci-fi thriller delivers superior monster action that'll pull the most hardened sci-fi cynic right out of his shell. So how the fuck is that for a movie premise? And I have to say, it delivers. Now, the reason I wanted to do these little things, aside from the fact that, Oobs has been really getting fucking crushed at work and Dom is still recovering. It's super surprising to me how many people either haven't given a chance or just don't even know about a lot of these B movies from the 50s and the early 60s. Like, they see the imagery, they've heard the names before. I mean, sometimes they don't even know the names, which I get, sometimes it's just not on people's radar. But a portion far too large of the horror community, which, is mostly of the younger kids, because anyone over 40 has seen a lot of these movies because they used to play them a lot more. And credit to Shudder for putting a lot of the deep cut movies that, some of the shit I've never even heard of, putting it on their service and, introducing a lot of people to a lot of different shit. And that's cool. But like I said, man, I don't think these B movies, these 50s monster movies, get as much love as they should. So I just wanted to put a little spotlight on movies I think that people should check out or give a chance. And this is definitely one of the better monster sci-fi jams of the 50s, in my opinion. Even though it has a typical storyline, atomic experiments gone wrong, which then create monsters and, shit hits the fan. That's the 50s. You're always going to, that's horror movies in general. The storylines, let's be honest, don't really vary too much. But even with that said, it's one of the better ones. The pace is consistent. It doesn't drag too much. The runtime's only an hour and 24 minutes, which for me is perfect. And one of the things I really love about the 50s sci-fi horror monster movies, which is, it mirrors the 80s mirrored the 50s with just their whole setup. Because before, the 30s, and I guess it started creeping into the 40s, but 30s and like the 70s, and maybe even late 60s, horror movies were serious. They're either serious or just super like exploitation type, gore and titty fests. But the 50s and the early 60s, that was like fun time. Like, all these B movies came out and they were always fun. Monster movies are fun. That's why I love monster movies so much. And the same thing with the 80s. The 80s did a lot of throwback stuff with the shit that they did that, called back to the 30s and the 50s and the 60s and monsters and everything. They just put a bunch of titties in it. And, that was the 80s, which I'm all about. But yeah, man, the 50s, one of the things I love the most is just the simplicity of the stories. They do get criticized a lot of, I guess not a lot, but some people criticize them for being more like stage plays, which is fine. It's a fair criticism, but that doesn't bother me because I like straightforward stuff. So this whole stage play thing doesn't really bug me because, I've said this a million times as well. A lot of movies today and for a long time just want to just
dump a bunch of shit into a movie. 5 different subplots going on. This person coming in that doesn't really mean anything, but takes up, fucking 25 minutes of a movie that they never go back to. And you're like, well, what the fuck was that person there for? What did they mean? Nothing. All these B-50s movies were just straightforward. All right, we're going to have some fucking monsters. There's going to be some kids. We're going to fucking cause a bunch of havoc, and then everything's going to be resolved by the end, and it'll be fine. I love that shit. So it's just an hour and 20 minutes of just fun, which I'm all about. In this movie, I mean, honestly, it hits all the spots. It's got slimy goo, a dismissive doctor, an annoying kid that ruins everything. And if you haven't seen this movie, you'll understand what I mean when you do see it. And giant killer mollusks. I mean, come on. Snails that are fucking destroying everything and sucking the life essence out of people, sucking them dry. How can you fucking go wrong? And the monster. Let me tell you about the monster. It's a great design. It's fucking creepy. And also it's a giant, man-eating snail. Huh? What's not to love about this movie? So yeah, this is a movie I really want to do on, a full episode on, because it's super fun. And another cool thing is one of the actors, Hans Conried, he plays Dr. Jess Rogers. So he also did the voice of Captain Hook in Peter Pan. Was it Thorin Oakenshield in The Hobbit, in the Red Skull in the Spider-Man cartoon? So that's pretty fucking rad. Also, another cool thing about a lot of these old, 50s sci-fi movies is they have a lot of these people that show up in so many other things throughout the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, which is dope. And another reason why I wanted to shed some light on a lot of these classic monster movies of the 50s and 60s that for whatever reason don't get the attention they deserve, so people can, appreciate them. I mean, you ain't got to love them. You ain't got to think they're the best, but goddamn, you got to appreciate this shit. Because like I said, if it wasn't for, movies pre-70s, especially the 80s, since again, it had so much throwback to like the 50s and 60s shit. Like this was the boom before the 70s that fucking made horror movies the shit we love and the science fiction movies we love. So I think a lot more people need to start giving this stuff more credit and some more love. But I don't know. I also kind of like that they don't, so I can feel superior to everybody. So from time to time, I think I'll do these things when life hits and we can't get together to do an episode, just to keep things interesting and entertaining. But again, like I love this genre. I love this era. I think it deserves it. So anyone who hasn't seen this yet, or anyone that is just starting to get into the whole 1950s sci-fi monster genre, the monster that challenged the world is worth the watch, hands down. It's a fun one, and you won't be disappointed. Or maybe you will be. I don't know. You'll have to watch it and find out. Thanks for tuning in and bearing with me for Screamin E's Creature Feature Spotlight edition of the Monster Candy Podcast. And make sure you stay tuned for the next full episode, and we'll see you then.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
I hear you looking for candy, man, bitch.
Give me some sugar, baby. Like scary movies.
Uh-huh. Want some candy?
looks that big old storm right square in the eye and he says, "Get away from her, you bitch!"
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Your move, creep.
Listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.